Today I'll be taking different samples from my fish tank and examining those under the microscope to see what types of microscopic life I can find. Many of the things that we'll be looking at today are oftentimes found in most aquariums, so be sure to stay tuned.
Oh my god!
For today's video, I'm going to be using my Microscope microscope. It is a compound microscope with an integrated digital eyepiece on top. And these are all the materials that I will be using today. And this is what everything looks like once it's all set up. This is me just testing to make sure that the digital part works good. I'm just going to be collecting everything into this little jar right here. And I'm kind of just pipetting everything that I could see with my naked eye, and then I kind of just plop it onto this slide right here. And the first thing that I found was this copepod. And these guys are actually pretty good for your tank. Some can be parasitic, but in this case, this guy's not. I actually found out that he is a Harpoctocoida. That's the type of copepod he is, but normally, these guys are a sign of good health in your tank. You can actually see them right there. I showed them before. They're pretty big in comparison to everything else that I'll be looking at today. These guys will usually eat microalgae or detritus within the tank, so they're actually pretty good to have just as a little cleanup crew. And once they do grow large enough, my betta fish will try and eat them. Now for this next one, it took a lot of squinting in this exact spot right here. I saw it before, but I had trouble finding it again. Once I got that on the slide, this is basically what it looks like blown up. This is the tiny worm that I was trying to find. I had to increase the objective lens to get a closer look at it. And this is a worm called Aelosoma, which actually looks pretty scary at first, but is a pretty cool segmented worm. Thankfully, these guys pose no danger to fish, shrimp, or plants, which is the first thing that I looked at. But these guys are a type of segmented worm, and those orange spots that you see all over their body, those are oil globules. These guys are usually found in freshwater ponds, so I'm not really sure how it ended up in my tank, maybe from one of the plants. Thankfully, they're completely harmless though, so I have no issue with them being there. And actually at this point that we were looking at the worm, it began to just implode. I am assuming it's because of the pressure that it was under from the cover slip, but that was pretty freaky to look at. Right here I was trying to point out what looked like some type of organelle within the body, because it is very clear. But what I'm pointing at now are these little hairs that actually help them move. They're very helpful in locomotion because they actually push off with those as they dig them into the ground or the substrate. And this is just a better look of the entire worm itself. And just as I was about to clean up, I decided that I was going to take a little sample of snail poop, as you could see right there. And what I found was pretty crazy. So the first thing that I noticed was another one of those Aelosoma worms, and this guy was a lot more active than the last one. You could even see his insides a lot better. You could see some brown stuff. They're also detritivores, so could have been some type of dead or decaying matter that he cleaned up. And this guy was just really active, non-stop, just inverting and moving every way. He was really enjoying this clump of snail feces. I also read somewhere that the worm's diet is not limited to detritus. It actually can also eat microalgae as well as fish waste, so that might explain why it's hanging out in this snail feces right here. Now my next find, and my favorite find, is a rotifer. There were so many of these guys in this little bit of snail poop. These are my favorite type of microfauna. I just think they're adorable. And you could really get a nice look at them here. You could see their beating cilia, which helps them take in food. You could really see their organs within their body. It's really cool how transparent they are. Right here, I was actually able to capture one of the rotifers taking in some of these surrounding food particles. Rotifers also have a diet similar to copepods, so they will also be eating microalgae as well as detritus. You could kind of see the shadow of the particles approaching them, and then once they get really close, they just get swept right through their body, which I thought was so cool. A lot of times if you scared them, they would kind of tuck their little heads back into their body, and then they would sprout out like that. Here you could actually see the rotifer and the alosoma worm in the same frame. You could also see how much power the rotifer has in spinning this little poop particle around. Another thing that I thought was pretty neat was how clearly you could identify their anatomy. So this is a picture labeled of a rotifer, and right here you can see the mouth and the cilia and the corona. Right there you can see the corona, and then you have the toe, and in this next clip you can so easily see the toe. In this next clip I actually banged the desk a little hard, and it actually caused him to shrink back in within his body. Now, the next things that I found, I was not able to identify. They were really jittery and really hard to stay focused on. The closest thing I found was the thing in the bottom right, which was a type of rotifer. I'm not quite sure. But these guys were just very jittery, very fast, hard to stay in the frame with. So I'm not really quite sure what they are. If you know, just comment down below. In this last clip, I took out that slide, and I just wanted to show you how small that little speck of snail feces is, just to show you how small those microfauna are. And with that, that's everything that I found in the tank so far today. Anytime you see some type of microscopic life within your tank, it's usually best to not freak out right away, because oftentimes it actually is a sign of good health within your aquarium. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video.